Big, huge day. Breaking news, not just for the country, but hey, for TrueLife News. We have President Biden has now signed the stopgap funding bill into law, narrowly averting the shutdown. Guys, this is huge. We also have it where not only did they sign the bill, but they also snuck a couple of things in there that I want to show you in detail. One of those is they did pass to move and build a football stadium on the taxpayer dollars, almost $3 billion in Washington, D.C., to move the Washington Commanders to this stadium in D.C. Guys, I'm telling you, you cannot make this stuff up. Right now, the bill has been officially signed. We are not going to go into a government shutdown, so everybody's ready to go back and spend Christmas with their families. But there's a couple things that Trump especially is not happy about. One of those is that they did not increase the debt ceiling, but they did do something that is really, really good for those on Social Security, and that was they repealed WEP. So they passed the Social Security Fairness Act, which is amazing, taking care of Americans, giving them back their own money. But at the same time, too, like I said, they went ahead and spent almost $3 billion to now build a football stadium on the taxpayers' dime in Washington, D.C. But Donald Trump is really furious. He said that now the debt ceiling is going to have to be raised on his watch, and now we're hearing talks that he wants to replace Mike Johnson, that Mike Johnson does not have the backbone that he needs to do what Trump needs to do. So there's been talks over Thomas Massie to replace Johnson as speaker. This is going to happen literally in the first week of January. So big news. Thomas Massie was in favor of splitting the bill into pieces and then voting on them individually. But now we're hearing talks also, though, that the Democrats really like Mike Johnson, and they want him to stay in office, and they're willing to help him keep his seat because they basically got what they wanted from him. Because remember, if it was just Johnson's way, they would have signed the 1,500-page bill, had all this stupid censorship, all the stuff to protect the January 6th committee. Guys, I'm smelling a rhino. But now Rand Paul is coming out and saying that he's in favor of replacing Mike Johnson with Elon Musk. We literally have it from his mouth, guys. There are a lot of Republicans that are posting on X now saying that this was a failed mission. We got played by the Democrats. Mike Johnson fell for it. They said we didn't cut spending. We added another $3 billion in spending. We're still in a $2 trillion deficit, and there's no end in sight. They said we need a new leader who's willing to let the government shut down like Newt Gingrich did to get things done. And so also, too, just want to remind everybody at the end of this video, guys, I'm so excited. We are going to be doing the biggest donation to charity ever on this channel. I'm so grateful and thankful for everybody that's watching. Guys, I'm going to show you a video of the charity too, so that you can see what they're actually doing with the donations that we give. I'm so excited for this, so please stay tuned till the very end. You're not going to want to miss it. But I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's free, guys, and it really helps the channel to grow. We're past 153,000 subscribers, and we want to hit 1 million. And I want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to join, the link is in the description to join. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button, guys. It really does help to grow. Hey, that's free too. But we are so grateful for everybody that gives a super chat donation. I want to give a shout out to TJ Van Ness, who gave a super chat, and appreciate everybody that supports this channel because of the charities that we give to. Remember, once a month, we give online so that you can see that we're really doing this, giving to charity and making a difference. But let's jump right into the news, guys. Today's a big one. There's a lot of details that you got to see because I feel like we still got played. Check this out.
The Senate passing a bill to stop a government shutdown, sending it to President Biden's desk after missing the midnight deadline by 37 minutes.
The measure extends government funding into March and includes roughly $100 billion in disaster aid and relief for farmers.
That's right. It passed in the Senate in a 85-11 vote. 10 Republican senators and 1 independent senator, Bernie Sanders, voted against the bill.
Wow. This coming after it cleared the House when 366 legislators voted yes. All the lawmakers who voted no were Republican.
The newly passed 118-page bill does not include many policies that were in the original 1,500-page proposal, including health care provisions restricting investments in China, pay raises for lawmakers, and suspending the debt ceiling. The president-elect reportedly not happy about the bill, especially the fact
I'm
that
not
the
happy either.
spending deal does not include suspending the debt ceiling. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says he spoke with the president-elect.
I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country.
President Biden has signaled that he will sign the CR bill into law. And, you know, it's interesting because if you were following along with this yesterday, it passed it in the House at about 5:30 p.m. And then, you know, it goes over to the Senate, who has to wrestle with it for a couple hours. You're probably thinking, oh, my gosh, President Biden is going to have to stay up late and sign this thing. You know, he's got to watch what's going on the Senate floor. And you know, the functioning of our government depends on this. Until you find out that the White House releases a statement says, he'll just sign it in the morning. Essentially, he's going to bed.
I really don't know how it works. I don't think he stood up. I don't think he stayed up much later than he normally would. And I remember a couple months ago, I asked at the press conference because there was some story out that you're never going to get him after like 8 p.m. doing anything. And I remember I asked, what happens if there's like an incoming nuke?
Yeah.
You call the first lady, and they said, there is a process for notifying the president when things come up. I don't know that a 37-minute government shutdown rises to the level where they're going to go shake him.
Wake him up.
So he's still got to sign it into law today.
I think what's so fascinating is, you know, as Speaker Johnson's talking about, well, you know, I was in contact with the president-elect, but Peter and I all this week covered the Mar-a-Lago beat.
Yeah.
And here we were thinking that this 1,500-plus page CR, which is exactly what the country had gotten tired of and reflected in the election results, all of a sudden, Trump weighs in, puts his finger on the scale, and all of a sudden, he's not going to be actually sworn in for a month, but he's having the greatest impact in shaking Washington up. What do we
Big
get?
time.
We got a skinny bill that's only just barely over 100 pages.
Yeah. So let's bring in one of the congressmen who's voted yes on this bill to sign it into law, Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez. Congressman, good morning to you. So the original bill was 1,547 pages. This slimmed down version was 118. That's what the president is expected to sign later today. So how do you feel about what passed through the House and Senate yesterday? And what did Republicans achieve and accomplish in trying to get this into a slimmer version that will go into law later today?
Well, we averted a shutdown of the federal government that wastes money. Believe it or not, when we shut down the government, it wastes money. Why? Because we give federal workers basically a paid vacation when they come back, they get their payback, and then also, in terms of our national security, all production stops. So our fighter jets, submarines, et cetera, all that stuff that's being produced right now to help keep America safe and secure, that stops, and then we have to restart those production lines, which again cost more money. And so shutting the government down is never a good idea. And so what we accomplished, we averted a shutdown of the government.
Congressman, Speaker Johnson did something last night that doomed Kevin McCarthy. He put forward a bill to fund the government that needed a lot of Democratic support. In 2 weeks, when you guys all go to vote on a new speaker, is Speaker Johnson a goner?
I think he is.
I don't think so. I'm going to be supporting Mike Johnson. Look, these are the cards that are dealt. If we had sufficient Republicans to pass some bills, we wouldn't need any Democrats, unfortunately. We can't seem to agree with each other. We had like 30 Republicans that did not vote for this bill. We only have like a 2 or 3 seat majority. And so when that happens and you have to get something done, and then all of a sudden you got to look over, oh, gee whiz, we have to pick up some Democrat votes, then the final bill isn't what we would like because we have to actually pick up some Democrat votes. And so it actually works against us. And so, yeah, I don't think so. These are the cards that are dealt. What we've learned from ousting Kevin McCarthy was that he was playing those cards about as well as anybody could, and Speaker Johnson's playing those cards about as well as anybody can.
Guys, that's just I don't believe it. You know, we have, President Biden has signed the stopgap funding bill, but this is right here. The Senate passes the RFK Stadium bill, paving way for commanders' return to D.C. So, yeah, we passed the bill, but we still got screwed over. That's what I believe. Nothing changed. The Democrats overwhelmingly voted more for this than the Republicans did. You had more Republicans fight against this than the Democrats did. And guess what? Look at this. Democrats may help Mike Johnson remain House Speaker, says Mitt Romney. Guys, it's starting to be leaked out. There's people that want this guy gone. I'm starting to get on that same train just because I don't agree that we didn't cut spending. We didn't do anything. All we did was remove some stipulations, but we still are spending like nobody's business. And Rand Paul didn't vote for it. Rand Paul was against it. Listen to what he has to say, because he's saying that we need a new Speaker of the House, and it needs to be Elon Musk. Check this out.
Joining me now is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, we welcome you as always, sir. So what do you think? I mean, I think if anything, the events of the last couple of days, can we make this as simple as possible? One big bill starting immediately, put it all in there. It's very popular. Strike while the iron is hot. Otherwise, the GOP and all of its wisdom can't walk across the street in a straight line anymore.
Well, there's one simple question we ought to ask before we get started. Do we want government to be bigger or smaller? So what Speaker Johnson proposed was to add $30 billion in farm subsidies. That's making government bigger. That's borrowing more money. Adding $100 billion in disaster money, all borrowed, not paid for. And then continuing to spend money. This is called the continuing resolution, but continuing to spend money at a rate that we're $2 trillion short. So the deficit this year will be $2 trillion. And that's what the rate of spending leads you to. So for conservatives, it's kind of a non-starter to say, oh, you want to continuing spending things at the same rate? And by the way, we're going to add in $130 billion worth of new money not paid for. So this is the contention. It's a real contention, though.
And thank you so much, Mary Busby, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Mary some love in the chat, everybody.
I was proud of conservatives who stood up in the House and said, we're not going to give a blank check to anyone, Republican or Democrat president, to just say we're not going to address the debt ceiling. We're going to forget about it. We're actually, going to pretend like there is no debt ceiling and we don't have to worry about the debt and no one's responsible. They voted against that. And so that was a real good pushback by conservatives. And I'm one of those who says you can't just ignore the debt and not make anybody vote on it. The people who vote for big government have a day of shame and a day of responsibility, and that's the day they vote to raise the debt ceiling.
Well, look, I don't think the debt ceiling has much to do with the debt. But I will acknowledge, and I'm going to ask you this directly. So, yes, where are the pay-fors? Where are they? Even in the old McCarthy deal, they were pay-fors. Those pay-fors have been waived. Nobody's talking about pay-fors for this deal, for the $130 billion extra money that you're talking about. I agree with you, Senator. I've asked this question every night this week. Where are the pay-fors in this bill? That's more important than the debt ceiling.
And you have to realize that the people who are wanting money for North Carolina are many of the same people who've been voting to send your money to Ukraine. So if you're suffering in Asheville and you're flooded out and the roads are flooded out and you're living in a tent, you need to ask yourself, why are your representatives sending the money to Ukraine instead of to Asheville? But I'm not for just sending it to Asheville and borrowing it. We should take it from somewhere else. There's a lot of Green New Deal subsidies that are out there that haven't been spent yet. They go to big corporations. They're not going for some emergency. They're going to cronies of the Democrats who own corporations, solar panel companies, what have you, and they're getting subsidies. That should all be ended. All of the expenditures that the Democrats have been piling on, many of them are still there. There's still some COVID money we could claw back. And then there's a question. Most estimates for North Carolina have been at $50 billion. Why are we doing $110 billion? I mean, maybe we could do $50 billion and ask again in a month or two whether it's being wisely spent or whether people are stealing the money from us. And so just larding out the money without doing any kind of conscious pay-fors is a mistake.
So I agree with that. There's no regular order. There's no pay-fors. There doesn't seem to be any concern about spending. I agree with all that stuff. Which leaves us where? You want Elon Musk to be the new Speaker of the House? Is that a vote of no confidence against Speaker Johnson? I mean, you think Elon Musk could do any better?
I'm afraid it would be a step down from making rockets in Tesla. You know, I'm a big admirer of SpaceX and Tesla, but I think it would probably be a step down. I'm glad he's being vocal, though, because frankly, we need entrepreneurs. You know, one of the things when Elon Musk looks at his rockets, somebody's name is attached to every part.
Yep.
So if there's a problem on the rocket, he knows your name. You're going to be asked, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? In government, it's the opposite. You know, when we had an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we interviewed the Secret Service, no one would say they were in charge.
No.
We could not find one person who didn't say, oh, no, she was in charge, or he was in charge, or I was in charge of this, but not that. You know, that's the problem with government, is nobody really puts their name on a part. Nobody really holds responsibility for the spending and the debt, and that has to change. And so a lot of things need to change. We need to start having competitive contracts, with Elon has talked about and Vivek has talked about. There's a lot of good things that could happen. But if you contrast that with what's happening this week, over $100 billion unpaid for being added to our debt. You know what? That wasn't all. They passed a Social Security bill. We're in the middle of that. $200 billion. Social Security's in the red right now. The last 3 years, Social Security's been spending more than they're bringing in taxes. We've increased the annual debt of Social Security by 50% with this bill, and once again, no pay-fors. Now, I've offered a pay-for, which would increase the age of eligibility by 3 months each year, and ultimately, in about 12 years, you'd have to be 70. And do I do that because I don't like old people? No, I aspire to be an old person someday. I'm doing it so there will be some Social Security left when I get there. But to save Social Security, you have to have some reforms. Instead, I think disreputable Congress just piled on things because it's easy to give people stuff and it's harder to pay for them.
And tons of Republicans voted for that bill. By the way, it wasn't just Social Security bill. This was a Social Security bill to add $200 billion to state and local workers, state and local public workers, all right? And we did this 40 years ago. I was there, Senator, with Reagan. 40 years ago, expressly, we took them out of the system. They don't pay Social Security taxes, payroll taxes, right? And they don't get benefits because it's richly benefited from their states and localities. In fact, their total benefit and retirement packages are far in excess of private sector, comparable private sector jobs. Now, for some reason, and I don't know where this came from, all of a sudden, the Senate, in its wisdom, wants to give that group $200 billion. For what reason, sir? For what reason? This is probably teachers union ginned up through Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party, but there's like the majority of the Republican caucus in the Senate has actually voted in favor of this and for cloture. I mean, this is a terrible idea, and you were right on this, which comes back to my other point, Rand. Listen to me. You have to simplify everything. That's why I think this idea of multiple reconciliation packages is crazy. You can't even get this little stuff done. Now you want to have multiple reconciliation packages for complex issues? Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh.
Well, the reconciliation is, where we can vote by simple majority. Republicans alone, we don't require Democrats. And if we want to either cut spending or cut taxes or cut regulations, only Republicans will vote for this. This is just a fact. We know this.
In 2017, in the House? In the House?
Well, in the House, it'll probably be only Republicans that will vote. Like in 2017, when we cut taxes, only Republicans voted to cut taxes in the Senate. I think it was the same way in the House.
No, I'm getting it. No, sir. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm making a different point. I'm sorry. No, make a different point.
To keep those tax cuts and to get them through, it's probably going to require Republicans again and reconciliation.
Yes.
What I wouldn't do, and what they're proposing to do, is the first bill is to actually increase spending on military. So the people around here who think the military never gets enough money want to spend in excess of the spending caps. Well, even with the spending caps, we're borrowing $2 trillion. They want to go beyond that and spend more money in the military. That's what they're going to use the first reconciliation. They're going to plow in some border money. But in the end, it's very important whether it's paid for. And I've already put them on notice. I won't vote for it unless we cut way more spending than they're proposing to spend.
Okay, so you and I agree on this spending point. I'm just saying you have a razor-thin majority in the House, the Republicans. So it's going to be very difficult to get a deal on anything. That's why I'm saying simplify all of this. Put it into one bill and then try to work it through. It will be hard enough. Multiple bills means you're going to squander the big Republican victory for Mr. Trump and the Senate and the House. You won't even get to the tax cuts. You won't even put more money in people's wallets. You won't even solve recession fears. You can't play Russian roulette with it, Senator Paul. You just can't.
Right. And I agree with you, but I think what they mistake is they think they need a border spending package immediately to succeed. And what I think is that Donald Trump, through executive order and through reversing Biden's executive orders, on day one is going to set in motion a dramatic change. I believe that he has the power on day one to say that anyone coming across illegally is not at all eligible for asylum. Right. If he does that, people will be deposited right back and they will remain in Mexico. He has the power. He did some of it last time. I think he can go even farther than he went last time because I think the law permits him. But they don't need reconciliation. We need reconciliation for something bigger, which is making the tax cuts permanent.
Yes, there you go.
Guys, I'm telling you, I'm super happy about the Social Security Fairness Act that got passed. Here's what John Kennedy has to say. But there's just so much that I feel like we missed out. Check this out.
Social Security is not free. People pay in Social Security. The money that we spent today in this bill, all we did was give it back to the people who earned it. Look, I think today was a good day. It was a good day for fairness. It was a good day for the Social Security system. And it was a good day for the people of Louisiana, even if you weren't affected by these two unfair provisions of the Social Security Act. Most Louisianians that I know of, all that I know of, believe in fairness. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I think we did the right thing here, and I'm pleased.
Guys, and that's the thing. We gave them, one of the things that even Donald Trump says is that we continue to double tax Americans. And one of the things I wanted to show you was we're $36 trillion in debt right now. And this is an image just to kind of put into perspective how much money we're in debt. $10,000 bills in the top right hand up here. And then to the right of it, you've got $1 million in $100 bills. And then you've got $100 million. It takes up a pallet. And then $1 billion in $100 bills. But look what happens whenever you go to $1 trillion. The image right here is this person. It's super zoomed in. And look how much pallets it takes. Because that's the reality, is that people cannot fathom what $1 trillion is. But it is insanely a large amount of money. And we're in a $2 trillion deficit every single year. And guess what? President Biden just authorized $571 million in military aid to Taiwan. Guys, this just broke today. Why? We cannot get away from the Democrats and from the administration spending money like it's nobody's business, like it's no problem. And I'm just wondering do they know something that we don't? Because even on CNN, I love it. Our boy Scott Jennings pulls out the facts. And I love it because no matter what, people don't care. And they're willing to spend and waste taxpayer monies on God knows whatever, but they're going to make sure they get their taxpayer dollars from us or else we'll go to jail. Check this out.
There are big fancy college words called oligarchy, plutocracy that folks tonight might want to look up. It's called rule by rich folks. And that's what we're dealing with. A bunch of rich folks, two rich people threw a fit online and threw the government upside down. That is not good for America. Now, did the bill go from big to little? What happened is that the bipartisan deal that got struck by elected officials of our country were overthrown by two billionaires throwing a fit, and it's not even January.
Scott, what's your take on that?
Well, if Van is concerned about unelected officials running the government, I would invite him to review the last 4 years of the Biden administration and maybe pick up the Wall Street Journal this week. We've apparently had a president that's so diminished that his staff has been hiding it from the American people and making key decisions on behalf of our government, despite never having been elected to anything at all. So if you're concerned about it tonight, maybe take a look over the last 4 years. Look, I think ultimately all's well that ends well. The government did not shut down. We're not in any kind of crisis over the holidays here. And when the Republicans get sworn in January and Trump comes to the office on January the 20th, they're going to have to come together as a team and decide, are we going to work together or not? That's ultimately how you get things done in a legislative body. This is where the Democrats had some things right. Jeffries had them unified, and
that's the thing. Jeffries, a minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, came out and said, look, we won. We kicked Donald Trump and Elon Musk's butt. We're the ones who made sure that the American people were taken care of. So it looks like, in a sense, a win for them. And guys, this is the other thing. Like, while all this is happening, the House releases a 17,000-page report exposing the weaponization of government. And we're not hearing anything about it. Check this out.
The weaponization of the federal government for 2 years. And you probably haven't heard about it, not even a peep on CNN or MSNBC.
Nope.
As the Weaponization Committee closes out its work, it just released this. Now get this, a 17,000-page report detailing a government drunk on power. Here now with more is incoming counselor to President Trump, Alina Habba. Alina, look, you've been on the front lines of the weaponization of the legal and justice system. But it goes to a whole other level, the weaponization of government. It's not just the Department of Justice, but it's also all these other departments and agencies. Mm-hmm. So what's life going to be like? What can the president do to fight back and tear down this attack on conservatives, Republicans, and specifically the Trump and their family, quite frankly?
Well, nobody knows better than you, Jason. You were part of the Oversight Committee. Here's what we have to do. We have to look. We have to look. We have to have oversight. We have to have real oversight, not just a bunch of subpoenas that go nowhere. America wants action, and that's very clear. I'm an American. I'm sitting here like everybody else watching. I'm watching subpoena after subpoena, testimony after testimony, people dodging testimony, people ignoring subpoenas for documents. It has to end. And they put this 1,700-page document together hoping that the American people won't read it. Let's be very straight. Because there's a reason the bill that just got passed went from over 1,500 roughly pages to 118. There's a reason they do that. It's strategic. In the legal world that I was in for so long, what they do is they do a page dump. They do a dump of documents, hoping you don't look in the weeds. America isn't buying it anymore. And when we go in, we're looking. That's what's going to happen.
So let's go back to the Department of Justice. I have no doubt that Akash Patel, once confirmed, along with our new Attorney General and Pam Bondi, they have the fortitude to get it done. But they're also going up against 110,000 people at the Department of Justice. So it's quite a hill to climb. What should we expect coming out of a Trump-run Department of Justice?
Oh, I have a zero. First of all, you couldn't build a hill big enough for Cash or Pam. These are friends of mine. They are amazing. They deserve their spot in this country. They have earned it. They are smart. They also know the ropes. And they are not going to let anyone, I don't care if it's 1,500 people or 20,000 people, no one is going to get in their way because we have a short amount of time to fix America. And I can assure you that these people, once they are confirmed, they will do what they need to do. They have a plan. They have a mandate from President Trump. They will follow that mandate. But also, they will do it for the American people. This is not a revenge tour. This is a clean up America so that we do not go to what we are right now. These are, the two you mentioned, they're some of my favorite people. They are so qualified. I am ready to rock and roll with them. They're going to be epic.
A very quick story. When I was in Congress, it was legendary that a member of Congress went to go meet with the cabinet secretary. Cabinet secretary wasn't there, and it was senior staff. And when the senior staff was there, but not the secretary, the member of Congress gets upset and decides, oh, I'm going to leave. And then he said, I'm not going to go meet with the B team. The B team, that's not what I'm going to do. And finally, one of the senior staff looked at him and said, yeah, we be the B team. We be here before you, we be here after you, and we be the ones to actually make the decisions around here. And that is so true. You got to starve the beast, you got to flush those people out, and you got to get rid of them. And I have no doubt that Donald Trump will do that. Last word to you, Alina.
No, he Well, I can't agree with you more. I think that was a perfect last word. We're ready to roll. I mean, I've spent, I'm in Palm Beach. We're here at the Winter White House, and everybody is working so hard. I think in your last segment, you said President Biden does not exist. President Trump is the president. He is working so hard for the American people right now. And frankly, so is every single person that he has nominated. And we are ready. We are ready to save America. We've been saying it. It's not just a catchphrase. We're going to make America great again. I cannot wait.
Well, it's
guys, and that's true too. I love Kabuki AI video said we need a reboot, not a shutdown. Guys, we 100% listen to what one of the senators, Mike Lee, said about everything after it all happened last night, because I'm telling you, there's a lot more to this story than what we've seen.
Okay, so we just finished passing all the legislation. Congress just blew a $200 billion hole in the Social Security Trust Fund, and just in the last few days spent a total of about $300 billion, which is added straight onto our debt and deficit. Look, I get it. People want to spend money on stuff, but we're digging deeper and deeper into a hole. It's going to be harder to get out of. This has got to change. 2025 has got to be different, very, very different, and we're going to be in a real world of hurt. So look forward to 2025, new Republican majority in the Senate, a Republican entering the White House. But it's time for DOGE, and it's time to bring about pro-growth policies. It's also time to cut wasteful, harmful government expense. Here's to 2025 and all we can accomplish there. Let's get to work, and let's not mess around anymore.
Guys, I'm telling you guys, like you said, that when you hear this type of stuff, you can't make it up. The next things that you're about to see, the DHS, they're 100%. People are, American people, they're not being put first. Immigrants are right now still under this administration. They say that Biden's a lame duck. He's not. Him and the people controlling him are literally still screwing over Americans. Listen to this.
Had her fingernails pulled out. But Biden didn't even care about getting rid of violent illegals. He was disinterested. Maybe they didn't tell him. DHS released over 100 migrants who violently stormed into the border over in El Paso. That happened back in March, saying they're not security threats. Really? Security threats? Or they're not security threats? That looks like a threat to me. The entire migrant mob was originally charged, but those cases were dropped in May due to a technicality, and just 5 of the rioters remain in ICE custody as of today. So while the president has been rolling out the red carpet for migrants all across the country, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is putting up billboards in Mexico, Central and South America, warning against illegal border crossings. Listen.
These billboards, some of which you can see behind me, they tell the horror stories of human trafficking. One says, many girls who try to migrate to Texas are kidnapped. Another sign says, your wife and daughter will pay for their trip with their bodies.
They're doing everything they can in Texas. Incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan joins us now. Tom, first off, to what happened here in the Bronx. These gang members, not geniuses, still wearing their ankle monitors. Glad they did. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised they weren't, under this administration, under the Trump administration, they wouldn't be in that hotel. They'd be locked up. And for anybody that was released, even under this administration, rules are clear. If you do something outside of your conditions of release, you can be immediately taken back into custody, even though you have an asylum claim. So I'm hoping things change in New York City. My meeting with Mayor Adams went really well. I think things are going to change. If he says what he said he's going to do, things are going to be a lot better in New York City very quickly.
I know you got to be able to get into the prisons like Rikers Island. And right now, you want to reopen those offices there. He said he's going to try. He's going to need a lawyer, I guess. It's not a matter of him just saying yes or no. So, one of these guys was arrested back in July for grand larceny. How do you commit grand larceny and get out?
Obviously, he's arrested in a sanctuary city. They don't care. Look, San Diego just passed a law saying, for instance, if you're illegally in the United States in San Diego County, you get arrested for rape. They're not going to call ICE. Think about that. I think any elected official anywhere in this country who doesn't want to get public safety threats out of their communities ought to resign their position, because their number one responsibility is protecting the communities. But this is just one of many, Brian, that's happened under this administration. Things are going to change January 20th. We got a great president. President Trump's going to come in. He's committed to enforcing the immigration law and locking up the worst of the worst first. He's already prioritized. I prioritize gang members, public safety threats. Right out of the gate, their number one priority, including Tren de Agua. They're in trouble because we're coming for them.
So, Tom, there's 1.5 million people in this country despite deportation orders. So those are people you're going to round up. They say there's between 11 and 22 illegal aliens in this country right now. But the ACLU has got a game plan. They have a game plan to counter your aggression, and they're going to pressure states not to cooperate with you, even if it means criminals in their midst. Do you have a game plan for their game plan?
We're going to do the job. They're not going to stop us. They can make it difficult. They can make it less efficient. They can make it dangerous. What they need to understand, and every sanctuary city needs to understand, we can arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a jail. That's safe for the alien. It's safe for the officers. It's safe for the community. But when they knowingly release a public safety threat back in the community, it puts the community at risk. It puts our agents at risk. It puts the alien at risk. For God's sakes, we've been clear. We want to put public safety threats first. No one should be against removing public safety threats out of the community, especially if they're here illegally. I find it amazing every day that I hear this stuff, but they're not going to stop us. We're going to do this. You're not going to stop us. And I can't wait till Kristi Noem gets to her confirmation. She's going to be an outstanding secretary. With President Trump, her, myself, we'll get this done.
I hear you. Just your opinion now. Knowing that Biden is even worse than we thought, and the stories are probably going to be even worse where he's checked out. Certain days he didn't even show up. And you knew Mayorkas, and you know that Mayorkas knows how to do the job but chose not to. Whose agenda is this? Whose agenda? It actually cost them the House, the Senate, and the White House. Who is behind this?
We're going to find out, because we're going to look into all of this stuff. We're going to look in why billions of dollars went to Joe's. We're going to look at why United Nations was funding some of the stuff down south. We're going to find out who's a part of this, of what they've done to our southern border. I think it's borderline treasonous what they've done to this country. And we need to have oversight investigations. I already talked to Mark Green, oversight chairman for the House of Homeland. There's going to be some accountability, Brian. You can count on that.
Right, Naxio says that senators are quietly meeting from both sides of the aisle about putting something together on the border and with immigration. So let's keep our fingers crossed that both sides are sincere. Tom Homan, thanks so much for getting the word out.
Guys, I'm telling you, I think that what they did at the border is treason. I think that what we're seeing and what we're constantly seeing is that there's more of a uniparty behind the scenes like this than we've ever realized it. Because remember, all the Democrats, not one Democrat voted no on this huge spending bill. And I feel like there's people out there that have given us, clues. They've seen a little bit of the back door of what's happening. But whenever I see, 1 second, guys. I had it right here. Whenever I see this right here, that D.C. will soon be an option for the next Washington Commanders Stadium, that the RFK Stadium bill passed by unanimous consent, meaning all 107 senators were on board, hours after it was left out of the continuing resolution. They want to use taxpayer dollars to build a football stadium in Washington, D.C. Makes no sense whatsoever. But what I love, too, is that, again, there's people out there that are giving us notice of what's actually happening. Check this out.
To the truth that the spell is fake. And it had been 30 years since anyone did that. And here's what the spell was. The spell was that the tiny group of people who run the country to their own benefit represented, like, the rest of the world. That everybody agreed with all the dumb pieties they were screaming at you, that all the good people were on the other side, and that you were somehow alone, trapped in your house thinking freaky far-right things that you should be embarrassed of. And all the truly decent, moral, progressive, open-minded people were on the other side, laughing at you. And that you were some kind of medieval freak, probably dangerous. And what the election showed was the opposite was true.
Yes.
The fact that Trump won not just the majority of the popular vote, but huge segments of unrelated parts of the society told the entire story. Trump won young people, Hispanics, he won Muslims in Southeast Michigan, he won Orthodox Jews in upstate New York. He basically won everybody except for the tiny core of super unhappy people who controlled everything. And I'm like, those politics, that very specific politics of affluent, unhappy people who have everything but really nothing inside at all, who've reached like the terminus, the end stage of consumer society, where you can't distract yourself or medicate yourself enough to avoid like the basic tragedy of your life, which is it has no meaning. And rather than solve that by believing in something with inherent value like God, you externalize all your disappointment and hate onto everybody else. Your life has been a total failure. You have no skills. Your kids hate you, but you still have the moral high ground because you've occupied it early and defended it ruthlessly. So people who had everything to be ashamed of diverted attention from their own failures by screaming at you about your moral inferiority, and you bought it. And I bought it, and all of us kind of bought it. It was like, you can't say this stuff out loud because it's embarrassing, and like polite people don't say those things out loud, like obvious things. Like, you're idiotic. And no, boys can't become girls. And no, you don't get to run our foreign policy or energy policy. You can't even change the tire on your Volvo. You're useless and dumb. And a compassionate society would not let you starve to death, but you're not allowed to run everything. Nobody ever said that because they occupied this place of moral authority. And they had like kind of the predictable institutions to enforce their rule, the cultural institutions, especially the universities. And if I could just, I want to say
With
one
me
more
now
time.
is Republican tech.
Charlie Kirk has done more personally to break that spell by succeeding without a college degree than anybody I've ever met. Rather than whining about college indoctrination and how it's, you know, a waste of money and time, he just goes out without a college degree and just becomes a crazy success through hard work and intelligence and makes the point himself by his own life, which is, by the way, how you convince people, not by yelling at them or even trying to persuade them, but by living in a way that proves your point. If you're onto something, if you're on the right path, your life should reflect it. You should be joyful. You should have meaningful, deep relationships with the people around you. You should have the respect of the people who work for you. You should have the love of your spouse, et cetera, et cetera. If you are telling me that college is a bad idea, show me a better way, and he has. These are very obvious observations, but for some reason, for like 30 years, we ignored them, and we allowed people who not only have no moral authority, who should feel deep shame and be engaged in a long process of deep reflection that includes ashes and sackcloth. Really, living in some, you know, faraway place in the desert, repenting full time for, say, the Iraq War. They should not be on television giving instructions for how we proceed at all. But we all kind of sat there and were like, well, we kind of have to take it. You know, and my kids can't get jobs because in a country with a Civil Rights Act, they're the wrong color, but we kind of have to take it. And, you know, my children aren't going to own anything, they're going to rent, but that's just the way it is in a free market system. We kind of have to take it. And by the way, the people who are doing all of this are, we will acknowledge, in some sense, better than we are. We call them the elites. They did go to Princeton. You went to Penn State. And we all kind of played along with it. Go Penn State, by the way. That's exactly right. You have nothing to be ashamed of, Mr. Penn State. But the point is, the Trump election showed that what they claimed was a far-right, boutique, crazed, dangerous ideology that actually was a threat sufficient that the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. military ought to be keeping an eye on you and they ought to have a right to spy on you, that supposedly crazed fringe ideology was in fact shared by pretty much everybody other than my buddy's divorced mom and other unhappy people. And what do we learn from that? We learned that the whole thing was an illusion. And the biggest illusion of all was the race stuff. That was the biggest illusion of all. And they can no longer say that people who don't want to go along with their program are racists because look at the election results.
Guys, and that's the beautiful part. You had so many people, so many Black Americans and Hispanic and all these that came out that truly showed that people didn't care. People wanted change, and they want to see Donald Trump in office because of this type of stuff right here. Like, again, we're in the midst of a shutdown, but yet Biden pulls money from God knows where and gives billions and billions and billions of dollars to all these other countries, and yet we still have people in Asheville, North Carolina, that can't get taken care of. And it's got to go through Congress to get them money, but when another country needs money, we just give them whatever they want. We hand them over billions and billions of dollars. Like, guys, this is literally blowing up X right now, that our president continues to step over Americans and to hand over money, billions of dollars, over to other countries. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I want to show you the latest on the what's happening with the new signed bill from Biden and what's about to happen next. Check this out.
With me now is Republican Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. So, Congressman, first, thank you for being with me here. So, I'm sure it was a late night for you, and you know this funds the government to March 14th. Does this, and it does not suspend the debt ceiling? Is this really what the country needs then?
Well, what we really need is to get to that, just a small bridge over a small brook, really, Edward, to get to Republican unified government. And if we're really going to tackle the debt and deficits, we have to have people in the room that are serious about it. And I want my goal next year and for the next several years is to reduce the debt to GDP ratio. So I wanted to give President Trump the runway to come in and not have to immediately worry about funding the government. So this gives us that 90-day runway. And I think that the American people on November 5th spoke, and now we have to deliver.
Yeah, sources are telling Fox's Aisha Hasni that President-elect Trump is not that happy about the bill because it does not suspend the debt ceiling, but he did not loudly voice opposition to this bill. Are you concerned about his concern?
Well, certainly he's, we're a team, as I've been saying, and he's the quarterback, and we want to all be able to work together well, and he's going to call the plays, and we're going to go and execute. But the thing is, we get sworn in on January 3rd, Edward. He doesn't get sworn in until January 20th. So we do have that 2.5 weeks to take care of that. We could suspend the debt ceiling for a year or more, so we can again focus on in the Limit Safe Grow Act we had a couple of years ago. That was something that did reduce the debt to GDP ratio. And that's what we need to be doing.
So this bill also includes some extra spending, $100 billion for federal disaster relief and $10 billion to extend the farm bill. Is this money well spent? Should this have been included?
Well, yeah, just because this is an act of God. I mean, this is an emergency that nobody foresaw. We have to take care of Americans that, due to no fault of their own, had their lives turned upside down. And with the farmers, if we don't support the farmers and ranchers, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Remember, during COVID, they're essential. They put food on our tables, and they are subject to the whims, unfortunately, of act of gods as well. So it's something to get them through. And then we have to pass a 5-year farm bill next year as well.
Right. So, I want to zero in on that $100 billion in disaster relief. Now, where does that money go? And is it necessarily because, FEMA provides about $1 billion to organizations that provide migrant crossings who are crossing the borders illegally, with transportation and housing services. So I want to be clear, there's no diversion of money that FEMA is saying, but I'm curious if FEMA just doesn't have enough money to go around, and that's why they needed this extra needed some of this extra $100 million.
Well, FEMA should not be spending $1 on anything like that. And come January 20th, I don't think that they will any longer, because that just encourages people to cross the border illegally. I came to Washington to try and do two things: to balance the budget, and I know that's pushing a big boulder up a pretty large mountain, but try to do that and also secure the border. And what Joe Biden has done in the last 4 years is neither. In fact, he's exacerbated both issues. We have larger deficits. and as a result, larger debt, and we have a wide open southern border. And that's why Kamala Harris lost handily in November.
So I want to switch.
Guys, I'm telling you, like Trump's pretty upset about the debt ceiling not being increased. And, you know, there was a lot of things that happened yesterday and the days before with us going from this right here to that, you know, going from such a large bill to a smaller bill. And it's good. Like, we got some progress. And, you know, a lot of people would say we should be happy about that. And I am, trust me. I just know that when you have a virus like what is in Washington, D.C., with all these politicians, with all these elitists, you got to gut the thing out. You got to clean house. And that's where I feel like I'm just praying and hoping that we do that and we get the right people in place who can really help America be what it was essentially supposed to be. Stop taxing Americans to death. Stop giving all our money away. And stop helping everybody else out before you help out Americans. And stop spending money like there's no accountability whatsoever. And stop the weaponization of government. But I do want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. Right now, we're going to transition to our live online donation. Guys, I just can't thank everybody enough. All of our subscribers, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because what you're about to see is what this channel is all about. Thank you to all of our members. Thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We wanted to do this channel, and we wanted to do something more than just, you know, be another YouTube channel. We wanted to give back in a meaningful way, and that's where we're transitioning to. So when we started this, the first charity we gave to was Isaiah 117 House, and it's a charity that helps out with the kids that are going into the foster care system. Then we gave to Samaritan's Purse, where it helped out with the hurricane victims. And now we're giving and then we gave to Wounded Warriors and helped out with those people that serve this country and help out their family. And now we're about to give to Christmas for Christ. And what I want to say is that this is a charity that is very close to my heart. I truly believe that Jesus is the way, and that even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in the Bible or believe in being Christian, just the morals, values, and principles of being kind, being loving, and doing what's right, and making sure that you're being the best person that you can be. And those types of morals, values, and principles are super important that I think everybody should live by. But what I'm about to show you is a video from Christmas for Christ over what the money actually goes to. Because what it does is it goes to help people start, plant churches. There's a lot of craziness in this world, guys. There's a lot and people need hope. They say, a lot of people say, well, we've got enough churches. Do we? If every person was to go to a church, we'd fill them all up. But we need good, loving, non-judgmental, truth-preaching churches that want to help people out and give back. And so that's what you're about to see next. Thank you so much, Silda Morales. And guys, after we watch this video, you're going to see us give the largest donation on this channel. And it's all because of you. God is good. But truly, it's because of the change that it makes in people. I truly believe in performance. And it's funny because even when it comes to the church, I believe that when it comes to what we do and what we give, it shouldn't just be just for nothing. We should see lives changed. We should see things happen. And that's what you're about to see right here, because lives are being changed through this charity, and I'm so grateful for it. Check this out.
They're here free today, so I'm grateful.
I believe that finding a good church that loves people, that doesn't judge, that helps people to be better, that's the whole point about it. The whole point is, we want to be better, and we want to be good. We want to be good stewards of our money. We want to make sure that we spread the good news, and we want to make sure that we bring positive things in this world, because there's so much hate, guys. There's so much issues and problems. We see mismanagement of money across politicians. And what I care most about is that regardless of what anybody thinks, that I want to be a giver. I want to be somebody that God can trust with the giving. This is And we're going to go ahead and do this right now, guys. So this is, I'm so grateful for this. All glory goes to God. Like I don't care about, I'm doing this to be transparent. I'm not doing this so that you say, oh, Joel, you're doing this. No, I don't care about that, because God has blessed me more than I could have ever imagined. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I grew up around drinking. I grew up around drugs. There was a lot of bad stuff, but I can sit here and to say, and honestly say, I've never been drinking. I've never done drugs. God has kept me from all that, and God has blessed me with a beautiful family. And this is why I do this. I want to continue to honor God in everything that I do. And so this is my church's website, guys. So I'm going to show you this giving. I've already signed in so that way you don't see like my personal information. Thank you so much, Gregory Light, for the super chat. Let's go. But you can see this is our church. You can go to this website, guys, Gville PC, right up here. Oh, you can't see it, but the domain is gvillepc.com. We're just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to go to the giving. We're on the giving page, and you can give in here. We're going to give online now. I've already, again, oh man, it's not signed in. Hold on, let me make sure to sign in just so that that y'all can see. I want to make got to 1 second. Copy over my password. And you're about to see this, guys, live. This is what I feel like is the most important thing that we do on this channel. Okay. So, you see it right here. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm signed in. We're going to, this is the giving. So actually I'm going to back out of this real quick. I'm going to refresh so that you can see give online. We're going to, I'm going to pick my card that I already have in here, and we're going to pick out of this list, Christmas for Christ, because that's what we just saw was the Christmas for Christ. And, thank you, Jesus, God. This is for you, Lord Jesus. We're going to be giving $15,000 to Christmas for Christ. And this is for the glory of God. This is so that we can continue spreading the good news, continue helping people build churches, to love people, grow the truth, and spread the good news. This is what it's all about. And this is all for the Lord. So we're going to give this right now. Confirm. This is a large amount. Yep, right there. Just went through. So just make sure it's all good. Yep, right there, guys. You saw it. Transparency. Thank you so much, Freedom, for the super chat. Let's go. So we just saw it. You just saw it right there, guys. We just gave $15,000 to Christmas for Christ. This is, like I said, my most, I love this charity, and I love that they grow churches. And you heard that mom who said, I was a single mom with 4 boys. I was drinking. I was trying to find hope in that. But then I went to church, and I heard the preaching, and then I got freedom. And that's what people need in this life. More than they need money, more than they need things, they need peace, and they need hope, and they need freedom in Jesus. And Jesus can give that, and I truly believe that. And so I love you all. Thank you for everybody that has watched with us up until now, guys. Y'all can see I'm not trying to be anything other than pure and truthful to you all in this channel. I could not be more thankful over what God has done in my life and done with this channel. We want to continue to give every single month, guys. We are going to give on this channel, and we are going to show everybody. People are going to know TrueLife News that one day we're going to give millions and millions of dollars to charities through this channel and through your support. I love you all. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a wonderful Merry Christmas, and that know that I'm here for you, and that we couldn't do this without you. And so if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, support the channel. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do so. And also, thank you to everybody that's given a super chat. Freedom, Gregory Light, Silda Morales. Thank y'all so much for your support. Guys, we couldn't do it without you, and we are here for you. I'll be taking this video and then, breaking it up into a smaller video and posting that. But it's all because of your support. We love you, we thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.